You were never supposed to hear this. Not like this. Not today. But something happened last night that changed everything, and whether you believe in destiny or not, the path you have been walking has already begun to shift. Someone was seen. Someone was caught. And the person they were with has left behind more questions than answers. You may think this has nothing to do with you, but deep inside your heart, something is already stirring. That quiet feeling you cannot explain is not fear. It is recognition. Because this story was always leading back to you, and what happened after midnight was only the beginning. You have spent so much time wondering if your soulmate even remembers you. You have questioned the signs, doubted your dreams, and even convinced yourself that maybe the connection was only your imagination. Yet every time you tried to move on, life placed another reminder in your path. A familiar song. A repeating number. A stranger who somehow looked like someone from a dream you never forgot. None of it was random. None of it disappeared. And now, after what happened last night, those signs suddenly carry a meaning that feels impossible to ignore. The whispers began long before sunrise. Someone saw your soulmate standing in a place they were never expected to be. Their face looked different. Not because they had changed, but because they carried a weight that had finally become too heavy to hide. The smile they forced could not fool anyone. Their eyes kept searching the distance as though they were looking for someone who was missing from the picture. They were there physically, but their hearts seemed trapped somewhere else. And the person standing beside them only made the mystery even deeper. Everyone assumed the worst. People always do. When they saw your soulmate talking closely with another person, they rushed to create a story before learning the truth. They filled in the missing pieces with assumptions. They believed they had uncovered a secret relationship. They believed your chapter had already ended before it truly began. But appearances have a strange way of hiding destiny instead of revealing it. What looked obvious on the outside concealed something much more complicated beneath the surface, and no one realized that the real story had not even started. Your soulmate never expected anyone to notice them. They thought they could carry this burden alone just a little longer. But last night became different the moment someone recognized the pain hidden behind their silence. They tried to walk away. They avoided questions. They looked toward the sky as though searching for strength that could only come from somewhere beyond themselves. Still, every step they took seemed to lead them deeper into a moment they could no longer escape. What nobody understood was that the person standing beside your soulmate was not stealing their heart. They were witnessing it break. There is a difference, and that difference changes everything. For weeks, maybe even months, your soulmate had been carrying words they could not say aloud. Regret has a way of becoming louder in silence. Every missed opportunity grows heavier. Every unfinished conversation becomes another invisible chain around the soul. They kept telling themselves there would be another chance. Another day. Another perfect moment. But life rarely waits for perfect timing. Last night, they realized time had almost run out, and the realization shook them in ways no one else could see. Have you ever felt an ache for someone you could not explain, not because you lost them, but because your soul remembered them before your mind did? That is exactly where your soulmate has been living. Every morning they wake up with a strange emptiness they cannot describe. Every night they wonder why no accomplishment feels complete. They laugh with friends, complete responsibilities, and continue moving through life, but something always feels unfinished. Deep down they know someone is missing. They cannot fully explain why. They only know the absence has your name written across it, even if they have never spoken it aloud. Last night forced them to stop pretending. The person they were seen with asked one simple question: who are you really waiting for? At first your soulmate laughed, then they looked away, then silence answered before words ever could. That silence revealed more than any confession ever would, because sometimes the loudest truth is the one nobody says. The conversation continued, but it became impossible to ignore the emotion building inside them. Memories they buried began returning one after another. Dreams they dismissed suddenly made sense. Tiny moments they once called coincidence started connecting like pieces of a puzzle that had been scattered across time itself. It felt as though the universe had quietly been preparing this awakening for years, and last night everything finally began aligning. Still, one question refused to disappear: if they know someone is missing, why haven't they found you? The answer is both heartbreaking and beautiful: fear, not fear of love, fear of losing it. Your soulmate has experienced disappointment before. Broken promises left scars that never fully healed. They trusted people who walked away. They gave their heart to situations that slowly drained their hope. Eventually they built invisible walls so high that even genuine love struggled to enter. They believed those walls were protecting them, but in reality they were keeping destiny waiting outside. You were never forgotten, you were delayed. There is a difference, and that difference is about to change both of your lives. The mysterious person who was with your soulmate last night noticed something remarkable. Every time your name was almost mentioned, your soulmate's breathing changed. Their voice became softer. Their eyes filled with emotion they immediately tried to hide. They kept insisting they were fine. But nobody who is truly fine stares at the stars searching for answers. Nobody who has moved on keeps asking themselves why one invisible connection refuses to disappear. Nobody whose story has ended still dreams about a future they cannot explain. That person finally spoke words your soulmate desperately needed to hear. You cannot outrun what was meant for you. Everything became quiet. Even the wind seemed to stop listening to the world so it could hear what happened next. Your soulmate closed their eyes, not because they wanted to escape, because they finally recognized the truth they had been running from. You, always you. Yet destiny is rarely simple. Just when they decided they could no longer ignore their heart, something unexpected happened. A message arrived. No one knows exactly what it said. No one has revealed who sent it, but witnesses noticed your soulmate's expression change instantly. Hope disappeared. Confusion replaced certainty. They read the message once, then again, then a third time, as though refusing to believe what stood before them. Without another word, they walked away. The mysterious companion watched them disappear into the darkness without following. Whatever happened inside that message changed the direction of the entire night. Some believe it was a warning, others believe it was an invitation, a few quietly whisper it was destiny making its final move. But no one knows for sure, not yet, and somewhere, perhaps without even realizing it, you may have felt an unusual heaviness in your own heart at that exact moment. Maybe sleep escaped you. Maybe you woke up unexpectedly. Maybe you looked at the clock and wondered why everything suddenly felt different. Souls connected by destiny often move before the mind understands why. And last night something invisible reached across the distance between you. The connection is no longer sleeping, it is waking up, slowly, powerfully, irreversibly. Your soulmate is standing at the edge of the biggest decision of their life. Every excuse they once believed is falling apart. Every fear is being challenged. Every sign they ignored keeps returning stronger than before. They can no longer hide behind timing. They can no longer blame circumstances. The universe has become louder than their doubts, but one final obstacle still remains. It is the obstacle no one expected, and if it is not faced soon, everything both of you have waited for could change forever, because tonight, someone else is about to uncover the truth your soulmate has spent so long trying to hide, and once that secret is spoken aloud, nothing will ever be the same. The air feels different now, even if no one else notices it. You cannot see destiny changing direction with your eyes, but you can feel it in the quiet moments that refuse to leave your mind. Something is moving behind the scenes. Doors are opening without making a sound. Hearts are being softened by invisible hands. And while the world continues as if nothing happened, your story has already entered a chapter that cannot be undone. Your soulmate did not go home right away. Instead, they drove without knowing where they were going. Streetlights passed one after another like silent witnesses. Every familiar road suddenly felt unfamiliar. Every turn reminded them of choices they wished they could take back. They turned off the radio because every song somehow sounded like it belonged to you. Even the silence carried your presence. The more they tried to escape the feeling, the stronger it became, until they finally pulled over beneath a sky filled with stars they had not looked at in years. There, alone in the darkness, they whispered something no one else was meant to hear. I can't keep pretending. The words disappeared into the night, but the universe heard every single one. Sometimes healing does not begin with answers. Sometimes it begins with one honest sentence spoken when no one is listening. That single confession broke something open inside them, and once it broke, there was no putting the pieces back where they used to be. They reached into their pocket and pulled out something they had carried for far too long. It was small, almost forgotten, yet it held the weight of years. Maybe it was an old photograph. Maybe it was a note. Maybe it was something so ordinary that another person would have thrown it away without thinking twice. But to your soulmate, it represented a life they had almost lived, They stared at it for several minutes before closing their eyes. Every memory rushed back at once. The moments they ignored, the signs they laughed off, the dreams they dismissed as impossible. Suddenly they understood why those memories had never faded. They were never meant to disappear. They were waiting for the moment when the truth became impossible to deny. And now that moment had arrived, leaving them with only one terrifying question: was it already too late? That question echoed through their heart again and again. What if you had already moved on? What if someone else had stepped into the place they were meant to fill? What if destiny had waited long enough and finally chosen another path? Fear has a way of creating stories that feel real even when they are not. Your soulmate sat there believing every worst-case scenario their mind could imagine. Yet deep beneath the fear was something stronger: hope, fragile, quiet, but alive. Hope kept reminding them of something they had almost forgotten. Real connections do not disappear because of time. Real love is not erased by distance. What belongs to your soul keeps finding its way back, even after taking the longest road imaginable. At that exact moment, something unexpected happened. Their phone rang. They looked at the screen. The same mysterious person from earlier was calling. For several seconds they simply stared. Should they answer? Should they ignore it? Every instinct told them that whatever happened next would change everything. Finally, with trembling hands, they accepted the call. Neither of them spoke at first. The silence stretched so long that it almost became its own conversation. Then the voice on the other end quietly said, "I know who you've been waiting for." Your soulmate froze. Their heartbeat became so loud it drowned out every other sound around them. They wanted to deny it. They wanted to change the subject. Instead, they whispered, "How?" The answer came gently, "Because I've watched. You search for someone you've never stopped loving, even when you convinced yourself you didn't know who they were." Those words shattered the last wall around their heart. Tears came without permission. Not loud tears, not dramatic tears, just the kind that fall when the soul has been exhausted for too long. For the first time in years, they allowed themselves to feel everything they had been hiding: the regret, the longing, the unanswered questions, the hope they had buried beneath disappointment. It all surfaced together, and there was nowhere left to run. Meanwhile, somewhere far away, your own heart may have felt unusually restless. Perhaps you found yourself thinking about someone for no reason. Perhaps an old memory appeared out of nowhere. Perhaps you looked out a window, wondering why tonight felt unlike any other night. The connection between two souls does not always announce itself with lightning. Sometimes it arrives as a feeling so gentle that you almost ignore it, but this time, it refused to be ignored. Back in the darkness, your soulmate asked the question they feared most: "What if I've already lost them?" Again, silence. Then came an answer that would stay with them forever: "You only lose someone when you stop walking toward them." Those words became a turning point. For the first time, your soulmate stopped looking backward. They stopped replaying every mistake. They stopped punishing themselves for every delay. Instead, they looked ahead, toward tomorrow, toward possibility, toward you. Yet destiny had one more surprise waiting before sunrise. As they started the car, another notification appeared. This one was different. no name, no number, just a single sentence. If you truly want the truth, be at the place where everything first began, nothing else, no explanation, no location, no clue, just those 12 words. Your soulmate read the message over and over. A strange feeling settled over them. They knew exactly what it meant, or at least they thought they did. Because there was only one place that fit those words, one place tied to the first moment everything changed, one place connected to a promise that had never been fulfilled. Without wasting another second, they turned the key in the ignition. The engine came to life. The road ahead disappeared into the darkness. Every mile carried them closer to a truth they had spent years trying to avoid, but they had no idea that someone else had received the very same mysterious message, someone whose arrival could either reunite two souls, or separate them forever. And as the first light of dawn began to touch the horizon, two different journeys were racing toward the same destination. Neither one knowing who would arrive first. The morning did not arrive with peace. It arrived with questions. As the first rays of sunlight stretched across the empty roads, your soulmate kept driving toward a place they had avoided for far too long. Every mile felt heavier than the last. It was as though the road itself remembered every promise, every tear, every dream that had once been left unfinished. The closer they came, the louder their heart became, and no matter how many deep breaths they took, they could not silence the feeling that today would become a day they would remember forever. You may not realize it yet, but while your morning seemed ordinary, invisible pieces of your destiny were quietly falling into place. Some moments begin long before they happen. They begin with small decisions no one notices. A delayed conversation. An unexpected turn. A feeling you almost ignore. Looking back, those tiny moments always reveal themselves as the beginning of everything. And today was becoming one of those moments. Your soulmate finally arrived. The place looked almost unchanged, the same quiet path, the same old trees, the same gentle breeze carrying memories through the air. It was beautiful and heartbreaking. Standing there felt like opening a book they had never finished reading. Every corner whispered forgotten emotions. Every step awakened another memory. They had spent years convincing themselves this place held no power over them, yet the moment they returned, they understood they had been wrong all along. Then something caught their attention. On a nearby bench rested a single white flower, fresh, untouched. No one else was around. They slowly picked it up, turning it over in their hands. Attached to the stem was a small handwritten note, 3 words. They remember too. Their breathing stopped. Who left this? How did they know? And who exactly was remembering? Before they could gather their thoughts, footsteps echoed behind them, slow, calm, certain. Your soulmate turned around, expecting to see the mysterious person from the night before. But it wasn't them. Instead, an elderly stranger stood quietly a few feet away. Their eyes carried the kind of wisdom that only time can create. They smiled gently, as if they had been expecting this meeting for years. You finally came, the stranger said. Your soulmate frowned. Do I know you? The stranger simply shook their head. No. A long pause followed. but I've known about you." Those words sent a chill through the morning air. Your soulmate searched the stranger's face, looking for any sign of recognition. Nothing. No familiar features. No forgotten memories. Only kindness. Only certainty. "I think you've mistaken me for someone else," your soulmate replied. The stranger smiled again. "No. I've been waiting for the person who keeps running from their own heart." Silence settled between them. Some truths arrive so gently that arguing with them becomes impossible. The stranger slowly pointed toward the lake beyond the trees. "Go there." "Why?" "Because someone has been searching for the same answers." Without another explanation, the stranger turned and quietly walked away. Your soulmate wanted to stop them, to ask more questions, to understand how any of this was possible, but within moments, the stranger was gone, completely gone. The path stretched empty in every direction. No footsteps, no movement, nothing. For a brief second, your soulmate wondered if the entire encounter had somehow been imagined. Yet the white flower remained in their hand. The note was still there, proof that something extraordinary had just happened. Slowly, they made their way toward the lake. The water was perfectly still, reflecting the morning sky like polished glass. Everything felt strangely peaceful, too peaceful. Then they noticed another figure standing on the opposite shore. The distance made it impossible to recognize who it was. The person stood completely still, facing the water, not moving, not speaking, simply waiting. Your soulmate's heart raced. Could it be? No, it couldn't be that simple. They began walking around the edge of the lake. Each step brought them closer. The figure remained motionless. The breeze grew stronger. Leaves danced across the ground. Birds suddenly flew into the sky as though startled by something unseen. The closer your soulmate came, the more familiar the silhouette became. Every instinct inside them whispered the same impossible thought. What if this is the moment? What if every delay, every heartbreak, every unanswered prayer, has been leading here? Only a few steps remained. Your soulmate could finally make out the outline of the person's face. Their hands began trembling. Time itself seemed to slow.